Hey guys, Daniel here and welcome back to another video. Here today, I want to sit down and talk about Voyager Digital stock, but more specifically, the biggest risk associated with it. Whenever investing in a company, it is important to understand the risk associated with that investment. And with Voyager Digital, it sure comes with its risks, but one main risk stands out, and that is the potential of a crypto winter. In this video, I want to talk all about this crypto winter and the potential implications that it has on Voyager as a stock. So if you enjoy these videos, make sure to share with a fellow Voyager investor, and let's get into the format. First, we're going to go through exactly what the chances are of experiencing a crypto winter, going back to 2017 and prior cycles to really go in depth into if this cycle may come to fruition, and if it does, what impact it may have on Bitcoin and potential other cryptocurrencies. Then I want to go through exactly how this might affect Voyager Digital as a company, looking back to Coinbase and how they handled 2017 and 2018 just a few years ago. And lastly, I want to go through how I'm preparing. Obviously, Voyager currently makes up right around 40 to 45% of my portfolio, so it's going to be interesting to see exactly how I handle this situation. So let's get into it. Now, firstly, I want to take you guys back to 2017. This was a very important year for cryptocurrencies, and it was the latest bear market / crypto winter that we saw in the cryptocurrency industry. When we look at what happened, throughout 2017, we saw a massive move up in the price of Bitcoin. And obviously what happens in Bitcoin tends to get mirrored in a lot of the altcoins and other cryptocurrencies out there. Anyways, Bitcoin started the year at just under $1,000 per coin, and we saw it move up substantially to just under $20,000 per coin in the back half of the year. What we saw after that euphoria, we saw Bitcoin go from $20,000 per coin to right around $5,000 per coin, an over 70% decline in the price of Bitcoin. Now, obviously, throughout this crypto winter, there wasn't a lot of talk about cryptocurrencies. It seemed that in 2017, it was the talk of the town. But in 2018, 2019, no one was talking about it because of the substantial decrease in price that we saw. Now, when we're talking about a potential crypto winter here in the back half of 2021, 2022, we're talking about a potential repeat of what we saw back in 2017. Now, it's important to understand that this isn't just a one-time thing. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies tend to go on these cycles, and they repeat pretty significantly and pretty similarly at the same time. And I'm going to show you guys a chart here to get a better understanding of this. When we look at the price of Bitcoin here, it trades in cycles. It trades in 4-year cycles. This is important to understand. At the beginning of the cycle, we have the bull market, where Bitcoin increases substantially in a matter of about a year. Then for a year, we have a period of a bear market when Bitcoin drops substantially. When we look at 2011 to 2012 here, we had Bitcoin drop again 93% in a matter of a year. Then back in 2013, 2014, we saw Bitcoin drop 86% in a matter of a year. Then back in 2017, we saw Bitcoin drop 84% in the matter of a year and a half. What tends to happen after that year and a half is over, we tend to see a slight rebound in the price of Bitcoin over the next year to 2 years. Now, the cycle starts at the halving. What is the halving? It's essentially, you can mine Bitcoin. That's how more Bitcoins are created. And every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that you can mine gets cut in half, or the difficulty to essentially mine a Bitcoin doubles. So when we look at this halving, it's generally a very bullish thing for Bitcoin as a whole, and Bitcoin tends to go on a big run after this halving takes place. Now, I don't have the exact chart of Bitcoin here throughout 2020 to 2021, but we have seen a massive increase in the price of Bitcoin throughout the first half of 2021. And what's expected is that we continue to see this increase in the price of Bitcoin and thus other cryptocurrencies. Now, what people are worrying about is that if we tend to follow this pattern that we've been following for the past decade, we might see a situation where Bitcoin increases drastically and then falls 80% plus for a matter of years. And this is bad because when Bitcoin falls that significantly, no one wants to get into the cryptocurrency industry. Everyone wants to get in during the bull market. No one wants to get into the bear market. So when we talk about a company like Voyager Digital, which benefits off of the consumer demand for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, they do not do well during bear markets. And it's really important to understand that if we see a bear market in cryptocurrencies, that is a big negative catalyst for a company like Voyager Digital. Now, when we look at the bull side of things, when we look at this potential exponential growth, I have seen a lot of price targets out there for the potential of Bitcoin prices in the back half of 2021 if this cycle continues. If it does, from what I'm seeing, I think Bitcoin could go from anywhere from $100,000 per coin to $200,000 per coin in the back half of 2021. Now, this is if we continue to see this cycle of cryptocurrencies going through this 4-year cycle of of bull market to bear market to consolidation. If we hit this, there is a big chance that we see a bear market in the beginning of 2022. Keep in mind that a lot of this growth in the price of Bitcoin tends to happen at the very end of the cycle. This happened back in 2017, where we saw a roughly 10 to 14 day cycle of Bitcoin going up 10 to 20% every single day. So we could definitely see a massive move in Bitcoin prices in the back half of 2021. And if we see that, that may be a big signal that cryptocurrencies will go into a bear market in 2022. When we look at the potential good scenario, in my opinion, if we see no crazy exponential movement in the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, this makes me very bullish on the industry as a whole. This is why. When we talk about this cycle, we need to see a massive exponential rise in the Bitcoin price before we see a massive pullback. If we don't see that huge exponential rise, that may mean that the cycle is over, right? We have seen a lot of institutional buying in Bitcoin over the past couple of months and over the past year here. Generally, Bitcoin was a very retail investor-based thing, but now that we're seeing more institutions, this may potentially lead to a softening of the bear market. There are a lot of factors that may come to play with this, but if we don't see an exponential movement in Bitcoin prices, and if we see potentially a stabilization of prices like we have seen over the past couple of months, if we potentially see a bit of a drift up over the next year, this is very good, as it means that the cycle is somewhat over or slightly dampened. If Bitcoin only goes to $60,000, $70,000 per coin, there's only so much it can fall, as there's no longer that crazy move upwards to justify an 85 to 90% drop in the price of Bitcoin, and rather we might just see a bit of a bear market where Bitcoin falls maybe 30, 40, 50% in price. And in that case, that makes me very bullish on the industry as a whole, as it no longer means that we experience these huge upward moves and these huge downward moves. I think Bitcoin's time to shine will be once it stabilizes, once Bitcoin doesn't move so significantly. And if we see this, it's very good for the price of Bitcoin and for Voyager as a company, as it won't have to face this extremely negative catalyst of a potential bear market. So, now let's talk about how all of this might impact Voyager Digital as a company. What if we do end up seeing a crypto winter like we saw in the back half of 2017, first half of 2018? How can this impact Voyager? Well, to get a better insight into this, we can look at Coinbase. Coinbase has been around for years, and they actually went through both the bull market and the bear market of 2017 and 2018. So we can look at Coinbase to get a pretty good understanding of how they handle the situation from a revenue and profit perspective and translate that to a company like Voyager. Now, when we look at Coinbase's revenue, it's important to understand that revenue did decline, right? It declined right around 40 to 50%. But when you compare that to the difference in crypto prices, which fell 70, 80%, that isn't that bad. Seeing essentially Coinbase's revenue only go down 40 to 50%, while Bitcoin prices went down 70 to 80%, makes me very kind of optimistic about a potential bear market and how that might affect Voyager. Now, by no means am I saying a crypto market or a crypto bear market is going to be good for Voyager, but I'm just saying that it might not be as bad as we think, because when you think about it, Coinbase and Voyager as brokerages, they are very profitable. So even if their revenues do take take a hit, they're going to remain profitable. They're going to maintain those 30-35% net income margins on the bottom line and will most likely maintain that profitability throughout that crypto winter. So if you're fine holding through the volatility, they probably won't go bankrupt because of the fact that they've got a good balance sheet, a good management team, a profitable product, and they're going to get through it most likely just like Coinbase did. And although they're going to do less revenue, they're going to do very well in the next bull cycle, just like Coinbase did in 2020 and in 2021. So when we look at the bad, right, of Voyager Digital, how will this crypto bear market impact them on a negative level? One, a decrease in assets under management. When we look at Voyager, the total customer assets that they hold is a big kind of guiding factor into their revenue and the volume that they experience. So if we experience an 80% decline in crypto prices, those assets under management are most likely going to decline by right around 80%. When we look at a decrease in activity and volume during a crypto bear market, there's less incentive to trade cryptocurrencies as they aren't just going up every day. So we're most likely going to see a decrease in volume and a decrease in activity. Also a decrease in customer growth. Obviously right now, Voyager is experiencing exponential growth in customers. Why? Mostly because of the bull market that we are in cryptocurrencies right now and the general feel that everyone wants to get into cryptos as of this moment in time. And when we look at a potential bear market in the cryptocurrency industry, that may signal a bit of a decrease in customer growth. So those are the bad things, but when you really think about it, there are some good things. Voyager is a very profitable company. Their net income margins, or rather their EBITDA margins, are right around 50%. They're very profitable, so even if they do see a substantial decline in revenue at the company, they're most likely going to maintain that profitability. They also have a great balance sheet. They have right around $200 million sitting on the balance sheet in cash. So even if they do somehow manage to lose money throughout those years, they're very, very well positioned and will remain very well positioned for the next couple of years to really handle this bear market and prepare for the next bull market that we'll see in cryptocurrencies. You also have to keep in mind that Voyager isn't just planning on becoming a crypto brokerage. They're also planning on getting into stock trading. So if you think about it, once they do eventually get into stock trading, that'll be a big essentially hedge against Bitcoin, as even if Bitcoin prices go down, they still have the stock side of their business to take care and still make revenue for them. So those are the good things, those are the bad things. Overall, I think Voyager will be able to get through this crypto bear market that we'll see better than most people will think. When you really think about it, I really see two scenarios with cryptocurrency prices and how they might affect Voyager. Now, the first scenario that I see, and we'll go through the impact that this will have on Voyager, is a bad crypto winter. The only way a bad crypto winter happens, in my opinion, is if we continue to see an exponential rise in Bitcoin prices throughout the rest of the year. So if we hit those targets of potentially $100,000, $200,000 per coin, in that case, I think we're set up for an 80% drop in cryptocurrency prices. But you have to keep in mind, if Bitcoin goes up to $100,000, $200,000 per coin, three main things happen. One, with Voyager, assets under management increase drastically. Drastic increase in customer growth. And we get a massive revenue bump. So if all three of those things happen, we're most likely to see Voyager's stock price increase substantially, and I mean substantially, within the back half of the year, alongside that increase in cryptocurrency prices and that euphoria within the cryptocurrency market. Now, I'm going to talk about how I'm playing this scenario in a moment, but let's get into the second scenario here. The second is a softened crypto winter. This is a situation where Bitcoin prices stabilize, potentially drift up throughout the rest of the year. In this case, I don't think Bitcoin has much of a reason to drop, as we aren't really in bubble territory if we stay at these prices for the next year. We have a lot of institutional buyers, potentially that creates a bit of a floor in the Bitcoin price. And if Bitcoin doesn't move up in the back half of 2021, that most likely means the cycle is broken. That's very bullish for cryptocurrencies, and when we look at a company like Voyager, this will allow them to continue their steady growth of the Voyager platform and will allow the cryptocurrency industry to continue expanding on a fundamental level. Now let's take a look at how this plays with what I'm doing with the stock. Obviously, Voyager makes up right around 40% of my stock market portfolio, and these two different scenarios essentially equate to do different scenarios in what I'm doing with the stock. When we look at scenario 1 here, where we see cryptocurrencies fly massively in the back half of 2021 and then decline substantially in the back half or the first half of 2022, you need to understand that if we get a massive drop in cryptocurrency prices in 2022, that will most likely be a result of a massive increase in cryptocurrency prices in the back half of 2021. And in that case, we're most likely going to see Voyager as a stock increase substantially. When I'm talking about substantially, I'm talking about hundreds of percentage points at that point. So in that case, I'm fine taking some off the table and making Voyager a more reasonable position of my portfolio, potentially closer to 10-20%. Only though if we see that massive increase in Bitcoin prices. Scenario 2. This is if we get that stagnation of cryptocurrency prices where Bitcoin maybe stabilizes throughout the year. I don't see a reason to take money off the table in this case. If Bitcoin stabilizes, Voyager will be able to maintain their growth trajectory for the next few years, and all of my targets will most likely be non-impacted from this Bitcoin winter, which most likely won't happen as severely if we do end up getting this stagnation of Bitcoin prices, and this would make me very bullish on the industry. So in scenario 1, we see Bitcoin rise substantially. I'm going to prepare for a Bitcoin winter and take some chips off the table. And in this case, I'm fine holding my position. Obviously, if the price of Voyager goes up to potentially over $100 per share, I'll make it a more reasonable position and take some chips off the table. But if we see a stagnation, this makes me very bullish as this trend, this 4-year trend that we're seeing has been broken in this situation. Obviously, in scenario 1, we're seeing a very different thing. But in scenario 2, if we see Bitcoin prices stabilize, this makes me very bullish on the cryptocurrency industry over the next 5 years and makes my opinion on a crypto winter much different and much more softened. So that's my thought process behind the stock, guys. I don't think this Bitcoin winter will be as bad as people think, and even if we do end up getting a Bitcoin winter, it will essentially be a result of a massive increase in cryptocurrency prices, which will allow us to take some money off the table. I know when we think about these cycles, it almost seems like every time people are like, all right, it's not going to follow the cycle again. Why won't people just sell in advance? This cycle has happened 3 to 4 times in the past decade. So when you really think about it, it's just continued to happen. And every time, those same people have been wrong. So we'll see if the cycle continues to repeat. I don't know, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on this situation down below in the comment section. I love Voyager as a stock and will continue to hold it as it is my biggest investment and it is my highest conviction play. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.